How's it going, everybody? Good morning. So recently I've been involved in computer building and I thought, hey, I should make a video about it. So 5 main parts you need to familiarize yourself in order to build a fully functional computer. The first one is the CPU. The CPU is the brain of serves as the brain of your computer, central processing unit. That's why it's called that. Basically, you can get either Intel or AMD. It's up to you, and it's just personal preference, whichever brand you pick. Number 2 is the motherboard. One important thing you need to keep in mind is that when you buy a CPU, you need to take into consideration that it is compatible with the motherboard you're purchasing. The motherboard is where you put things together. It's like the breadboard where you put your components in. Next is storage. Okay, storage, a hard drive or an SSD, solid state drive. It's basically your storage. It's where you put your files and operating system. Nowadays, people opt to find a hard drive with 1 terabyte of storage. It's like the standard nowadays, but you can go lower or higher if depending on your budget. The next is we have CPU, motherboard, storage. The next is RAM. Obviously, you need RAM at least 4 gigabytes. I would recommend 4 gigabytes of RAM. Also, take into consideration when purchasing your RAM, you need to check its compatibility with the CPU first and the motherboard. There are different kinds of RAM, different generations. You can look it up on YouTube. There are many videos that explains it. You need to check the compatibility of CPU, the motherboard, and the RAM altogether. Those are the 3 important things that you need to keep in mind when building your PC. I would say a priority when it comes to compatibility. RAM 6, RAM speeds, it doesn't really affect that performance, at least in my opinion, but the main gist of it is if you have 2 sticks of RAM, make sure that both RAMs have the same speed. Your computer will prioritize the lowest frequency and the higher RAM will adapt to that, so you're wasting the price per performance if the RAM speeds aren't similar with each other. But hey, that's just a minor thing. You can ignore that altogether. Next is the power supply. Now, I advise you to never cheap out on the power supply because it is the most crucial thing that your system needs. If you purchase a cheap power supply and something goes wrong, it will always take a part with it to the grave, if you get me, okay? It's not the best feeling in the world knowing that your power supply failed on you and it saps another part with it. So the power supply is the one that powers your entire system. All the port powers from your parts goes to the power supply. So it's directly hooked up to the motherboard and your graphics card, which we're gonna talk about in the next one. The motherboard, the fans, all the parts that needs power. Okay, the next is graphics card. So we're gonna talk about the graphics card. Graphics card, you may or you may not include this. If you're building a gaming PC, this is a must-have because you can't game unless you have a graphics card. You can game with an integrated graphics card, which is bundled up with the CPU, but it's not that powerful that you can play the most demanding AAA games. Maybe some MOBAs or esports games, but that itself, you're gonna play it on low settings and in the lowest resolution, at least. And you won't get that smooth gameplay because the frame rates would just dip below 30 FPS. So I would recommend, if you're building a gaming PC, to make a graphics card a priority high on that list. But if you just want an office or a home theater, you can simply omit that graphics card. Just connect your monitors to your motherboard port, HDMI or VGA, then you're all set. So those are the things that you need. Those are the parts that you need to build your computer. So recap: CPU, the motherboard, the RAM, the storage, power supply, and lastly, graphics card. If you want an in-depth detail on how to connect all these parts and physically build your own PC, there's a lot of videos on YouTube that can explain that better than me. So just watch that, okay? I'll link a video in the description, the video I recommend in building your first computer. It's from Techsource. So yeah, it's just a win-win overall. So that's it for this video, guys. I didn't mean for this video to drag on. I'll make this video as quick as possible and easy to consume, so you guys can watch it easily. So yeah, with that said, I'll see you guys in the next video next week. Squad fam out.